All right, so looking at these two warm-ups, all right? All right, so here's our function, f. What family we in? Linear. What's the domain and range? Just for a quick. All real numbers, right? When it's linear, for both, it's all real numbers, right? Okay, so we do one at a time, so we're going to do the translation 5 units up first. When it's up or down, where does that number go? Outside of it, okay? And when it's up or down, it's whatever we think, right? Positive is up and negative is down. So our G function, okay, is going to be just x plus 5. Can I simplify that anymore? No, so you're done. But anytime you're doing multiple transformations, do one at a time and simplify it first before you go on to the next one, okay? But this we can't make any simpler. All right, so now we're going to do a vertical shrink or compression, right? When it's vertical, all right, is that inside or is that outside?
Inside.
Outside.
Outside.
Yeah, vertical or outside, horizontal or inside. Okay, so we're changing the y, all right? So we have to multiply 1/4 times the whole thing. Okay? So then we need to simplify it. So how do I simplify it? What do we call it when I do this? Distribute, right? So 1/4 times x is just 1/4 x. Remember, if you're not sure how to multiply 1/4 times 5, just put it over 1. Then go 1 times 5 is what? Thanks, you guys. And 4 times 1 is 4, right? So just multiply straight across when you multiply fractions. So here's our transformation. That's what our function looks like after both transformations.
We need 7 pointers, last names.
Okay, questions?
A through M. Please go to the performing arts hall now for your screening. That's
For 14,
7th graders. Last name.
we have
A through
f of
M.
x,
Go to the performing arts hall now and bring your
the absolute value of x,
That's it.
which is our parent function for what, family? Absolute value, right? What's it look like? A V. What's the domain? All real numbers. What's the range? The V for our parent. Where does it start? Where's the vertex at? Right. Y is greater than or equal to 0. That's where the vertex is, right? It's going up. Our V, right? So the very bottom, our lowest Y value is 0. So Y is greater than or equal to 0. Just, kind of keeping up with that stuff. All right, so we're doing a reflection in the X. What changes? Yeah. The Y changes, right? So we're just making the Y opposite. Remember, f of x equals is just like y equals, right? We're just putting a negative out front. Now, we talked about this yesterday. You can't distribute a negative into an absolute value. If it was just parentheses, that's okay. All right, so that's all we can do. We can't simplify it anymore. And then it says translation 2 units left. All right, that's a horizontal one, right? Left and right. The horizontal ones go inside, right? The up and down ones, the vertical ones, are outside. All right, so we're going to put inside our absolute value sign And it's, number 2 units left, we think opposite, right? So it's plus 2. So we got g of x equals negative the absolute value of x plus 2. And that's our final function after the 2 transformations. Okay? All right, homework. Problems. How'd we do on the first 4?
Pretty good.
2 units left. You put it inside, right? So it'll be in the parentheses, x plus 4, and then minus 5. And you got those in front of you there. Any of those you got a question on? Those are okay? Again, you can use technology, which means what? If your calculator to check to see if it moved the way you thought it was supposed to move after you put in your 2 equations. Okay? Your 2 functions and your y equals. All right? How about those 3? Any of those 3 you want to actually go over? Or did looking at my stuff make sense? Okay, reflections. X, you put a negative out front. Reflection of y, you make your x inside negative. Okay? Good? No questions? All right. How about some shrinks or compressions and stretches? What do we got to remember when it's horizontal stretch or compression? What ends up happening with our factor? Spencer?
Reciprocal.
Yeah, reciprocal, remember? The little trick that we were using is a big H because horizontals are harder. It's always 1 over the factor. All right? So then it'd be 1/4 times. It's always changed. When it's horizontal, we're changing our x value. So we're putting it in with the x inside. Okay? So we're good on those? After you looked at mine? I'm looking at them. No questions? I know this is kind of tricky at first. All right, cool. All right, a couple word problems today, to for notes to add on to what we've been doing. All right. So here's the type of problem we're adding into our work today. It says you design a computer game, your revenue in dollars. What, you guys know what revenue is? What is that? Your sales, right? How much you bring in, right? So your revenue for X dollars is given by this function. So that's what our revenue is, this function. All right. Our profit, what's profit? Right, what you make over your cost. You got to pay off whatever it's your workers or your setup fee or all that stuff, and then whatever is above those costs is your profit, right? All right, so it says profit is. All right, so for profit, we'll use the letter P for our function, for not function notation. What's the word is? What can I, in math, what do I put in place of is? Yeah, equals. Okay? So this is what we got to figure out. 50 less than 90% of the revenue. So 90% of the revenue, how do I write 90% if I put it in an equation? 9/10 or 0.9, right? You like moving the decimal point. The decimal point's here. You're moving it 2 to the left. All right? It means 90 out of 100. You guys all know that, right? Percent is out of 100. That's 9/10, like Nolan said, which has a decimal. Usually in equations we put it in as a decimal, but you can put 9/10 if you want. So 9/10 of the revenue. So 0.9 of the revenue. What's the revenue? 2x. Less than 50, or 50 less than that. All right, so how do I write 50 less than that? Minus 50, right? So if we clean this up or simplify it, what's 0.9 times 2x? Thank you. 1.8x. Yeah, 2 times 0.9 is 1.8, and then x minus 50. So now we can answer the question. What's our profit, Caitlin, for 100 downloads? Here's our equation, our function. All right, so we got 100 downloads. How much money are we going to make? So what's that 100? Where do I put it? Well, the profit for 100 downloads, where do I put the 100 in? Yeah, you put it in for x. All right, so we just substitute in 1.8 times 100 minus 50. What's 1.8 times 100? Anytime you multiply by 10, you move the decimal point 1 to the right. 100, 2 to the right. 1,000, 3. However many zeros you have, that's how many spots you move the decimal point. So if I move my decimal point over 2 places because I have 2 zeros, what is that? 180, right? Minus 50. So the profit for 100 downloads is $130. Questions on that example? There was a problem. Okay, revenue they gave us, and then profit is, so the P of X equals, and then you should be able to write an equation that goes with those words. All right? The percent, just make it point whatever it is. All right? What if it was 2%? What do you put in for the decimal? 0.02, right? 20% is 0.2, right? Okay. And then substitute in the revenue with that, and add or subtract whatever they tell you to figure it out. All right? So you guys try this one, please. You make cards to sell your revenue. You make cards to sell. The revenue is represented by f of x equals 3x. Your profit is $15 more than 60% of the revenue. What is your profit for 200 cards? Very similar problem. When you get it, let me know and I'll come around and check it. See how you did. Gotta read. $50 less than. What's this one say? There you go. We gotta change. Don't you? Correct. Correct. Everything else is right. Right. And then it's $15 more. Good. 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 Yes, you are. You guys are so smart. Right. How'd you get there? This is all right there. And then somehow. Yes. Good. See, Doug, how'd you do? Right. To what state are you gonna go to? Right down You just put it in place. Put 6 times. Alright, so our revenue is 3x this time, right? So when I do this for my profit, 60% of the revenue and $15 more than. Last time it was $50 less than, right? We subtracted. When it's more than, what we're going to do? We're going to add. Okay? So, again, this was just a coincidence. But what's 0.6 times 3? 1.8 again. It's not always going to be 1.8. That's just how that one worked out. So what do we put in for X this time? 200, right? Because we made 200 cards, and we want to see what the profit will be. And that comes out to 360 plus 15, which would be $375. Okay? So, again, points, when we see a percent, you're just moving that decimal point 2 to the left when you write it in your equation or your function. Okay? Substitute whatever the revenue is in after that percent, and then do what it says after that, add or subtract, or maybe there won't be anything, I don't know. Okay? So that's it for today. I have a extra practice worksheet for you guys to do. Just numbers 1 to 13. There's 14 of them on the paper, but you don't need to worry about number 14.